Good evening. I'm here. It's me, Nico, with Max Cat. And tonight we are out and about under the night sky, considering what it all means. What it all means. What do you think is out there?
A lot of stuff, a lot of stars and planets, and maybe things that go bump in the night.
I heard this really interesting story. Somebody was talking about this abduction experience that they had. It wasn't them, it was their wife. But it was fascinating. And I've heard certain stories like it, and especially some of the details like surrounding those experiences, how like you kind of like forget them afterwards and then kind of like remember them later. And just like weird things regarding like how your minds can be controlled into what you remember in your perception of things
Sounds like a
in that
Mandela effect.
moment. Um, and it just really made me think about what's out there and what is going on. And do you believe that human beings are getting abducted on this planet? And what are they doing with them?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've all seen the movie Fire in the Sky, and if we haven't, then you should watch it. That story is, I think, the most interesting abduction story that I've ever heard about because, they take the lie detector tests and eventually they all pass them. So, are they making it all up? Was it all fake? Was it a mass hallucination? Was it some kind of government program? Or were they really abducted or just get those memories or those visions implanted in them somehow? I don't know, but I think there's a lot of stories like that. And I think some of the people are kooky and crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
some of
Mm-hmm.
them, I think something did happen.
Yeah.
And, whether it's a vision or an actual abduction or some kind of, I don't know, altered conscious experience, or maybe that's all part of the same thing. I don't know, but something is happening to some of those people. And I
Yeah.
actually did have a friend
And some of them do not sound crazy.
that claimed to have had lost time, which I
Yeah.
think is also
That's a
really
common
interesting.
occurrence.
And so, I mean, whether or not you're necessarily abducted, but there's plenty of people I know that have looked at the clock and it was like 4 o'clock, and then blinked, and then it was 7 or 8 or the next day
Right.
or something very weird, and they just lost a large amount of time.
The
Yeah.
first occurrence of that I think ever recorded and known about were that couple in like the 50s or 60s, Betty and something. Gosh, I'm blanking on their name, but they part of their experience was losing time. They were driving home, lost time, and then all of a sudden, like, woke up, came to, parked in the driveway in their house, not knowing how they got there, really. But what I find is interesting, and I've like listened to quite a few, like on, with like Art Bell and Coast to Coast AM, and just like, hearing other people like recounting their experiences, you pick on like some certain themes and patterns that come up, right? Like it's pretty easy to weed out like complete like cuckoo bananas people, but when you start to see like certain things like losing time, um, you know, just certain experiences and not remembering it and then remembering it later or whatever it may be, just the experiences they have within it. A lot of times, too, um, once you're abducted, like you will then years later, like have an experience with contact later on. So, to talk about what got me thinking about it today was there's this guy I was listening to on a podcast, and he was talking about how years ago he, was married to his then pregnant wife, and she was like 8 months pregnant, right? And he said that his wife was one of these very just grounded, rational people, not into like wild theories, not into UFOs, nothing like that. And so there was this one night he was talking about how, um, I guess he like woke up in the middle of the night and his wife was not there at all.
Oh my.
And it was really, that was really unusual. And she's like 8 months pregnant. Like, where's she going to be going? And she was like, coming to the end of her pregnancy, and like they live upstairs, and it was hard for her to get downstairs. And he looks out the window, and he sees these lights across the way. And I guess they kind of live in like not a very populated area. And he said in his mind, he remembers thinking, oh, that's the new factory, and like people are going to work or whatever.
Oh, very
And
interesting.
then he went back to sleep. And then in the morning, waking up, and his wife, he wakes up, and the wife is like sitting on the edge of the bed, freaked out. And then all of a sudden says to him, I think I was abducted last night. And like out of nowhere, like this is not a person who has ever talked about aliens before, never talked about any of this shit before, just a rational, reasonable person. Um, and then what he thought was really interesting was like he then forgot it. They both forgot about that for years to come until um their the wife had the baby, right? And this it was a son, and like the son, the years had passed. And then when the son was like 11 or 12, had an experience of being visited. That son that was in his wife's belly at the time of her abduction. And when the son told him about this, it was like all these memories came rushing back. And then he was thinking like, oh my God, I remember like looking out and thinking like there's this factory, and like there's no factory there. And like, why would I have just gone back to sleep when my wife was nowhere to be? It was like he was under like a mind control in that moment.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. I've definitely read lots of stories like that. Hard
And
to
like
say.
they check, and it's like, what are they doing? So it's like clearly there's some sort of like genetic, like something that they're doing, because it's like it seemed like they were checking up on the baby, how it was growing up
Well,
later
maybe they
on.
were checking in.
And you know what's very interesting about it is that that child was diagnosed on the spectrum of autism.
Oh, well, now the whole story is all weird now because of that.
No, it's not. And so because we were talking about like what
This all sounds like an explanation that the parents have concocted
no, no,
for a
no.
way to explain their child's autism.
No, it's not. It's just like a strange thing, because like thinking about like, why are people abducted? What goes on? And then like talking about the theories of like ancient aliens, and like how humans were created, and like our genetic makeup, and like all of these things. It's like, what are all these pieces? Like, what is it? Like, what is going on here? We don't know. We can only speculate.
I guess. I don't know. A lot of weird stories. It sounds like
What
a
do you
weird
think
one.
about our genetic makeup? And like, if you look at evolution and animals and then us, it's interesting, right? It was like all of a sudden we kind of became civilized in a way.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to, I don't know, get into all that stuff on this type of podcast. I
Why?
just don't know.
What do you think? Do you
Well,
believe in ancient
I
alien theories?
mean, I think there's a lot of theories out there that make a lot of sense, and certainly make more sense than some of the stuff that you just get in your standard, sixth grade science class. But
Yeah.
it's hard to say, and it's just once you go down like a little bit of a rabbit hole with some of these things, the next thing you know, you're dealing with like, crazy Corey Good
Oh
theories and
God,
crazy
that
David
guy is
Wilcock
like
theories, and then
woo woo.
the Earth is hollow, and then there's secret space programs and solar wardens and flat Earth, and it just gets crazy
That's
after a
true.
while. So it's a hard thing to talk
It is.
about, because it's just, if you mention one thing, or you think, well, maybe there might be something more to us than just evolving from
Yeah.
chimpanzees, the minute you just take one tiny step away from there, well, then you're just a complete cuckoo person, and there's just no more discussing anything. So I don't
Well,
know.
here's my
I think
thing.
I think it's something that people should approach on their own, and that if they want to research more, they can and they should. But I don't
Yeah.
really. I just think it's a very personal journey, almost like if you're going to take a religious journey or a spiritual journey or anything else, it should be something you do on your own, and get as far into it as you want to go.
And there was a time when I was very, very interested, and I kind of like went deep into that rabbit hole and was like fascinated by it. And then I literally got to the point where I was like, okay, you're never going to get to any concrete answers. None of this is going to change my current life. It's not going to give me any money, more money in my bank account. It's not going to do anything except be more questions.
Yeah, and it's probably not going to make you feel more secure or assured in your life.
No.
It's just probably going to make you have more questions and feel more
Yeah.
unsure about who you are, where you are, and what the importance is of this experience, which I think there's other ways of questioning and developing that don't necessarily, make you terrified
I
at
think it's
night.
interesting in the sense that like I enjoy thinking about things from a broader place than just like the bullshit everyday shit in life. Like it gives things like I like being in the existential esoteric. Like I think that that's a little more interesting and meaningful. But again, it's like you got to have that balance because at the same time, it's like we do live in this material world and we do have to like do shit, like make money, like have relationships, go to a job. And like when you get too much in that other world, it's like that material world is like meaningless and like you don't engage in it anymore.
Well, next thing you know, you're living in a bunker or your car, and you're out there on the streets with the sandwich sign, preaching to people about the aliens that are coming,
or not.
that the government is lying to you about everything.
Well, that's the other piece too.
And then you're crazy. And then once you've
I
gone
thought
that
it was
far, it's hard to come back to any, semblance of society. I mean, it's like
yeah.
the Matrix thing. It's like, do you really want to take that red pill all the way, or do you want to just take like a baby aspirin version of the red pill? Do you really want to swallow the whole thing and go as far down as you possibly
Yeah,
can?
you don't want to
Because
live there,
it's hard to
but
come
it's
back,
interesting to
It's
explore
really
it.
hard to come back from that.
It is. And like I did. I got to the point where I was like, look, I'm not going to get any confirmation on any of this shit. Like I have my intuitive sense of like what feels legit and what doesn't. And again, like as you go along, you start to understand like just certain patterns and things that seemingly tend to emerge versus like just the outlandish craziness. But again, it's all there's not really it's all anecdotal. There's not really any hard evidence. What I did find was really interesting is like remember like a few years ago when the military released those videos of UFOs, meaning unidentified flying objects.
This is a big topic this year and last year because there have been more videos. There's been more announcements since those videos came out. And if you haven't, you just can Google, the recent UFO videos from the Pentagon, the Navy, Air Force.
Yeah, it's the Navy.
And
really.
it's other branches have released more stuff. But the Pentagon also has admitted to the fact that I guess they don't call them extraterrestrial vehicles, but there's some kind of non-man-made vehicle. Something exists, and they say they can't explain it.
It's like EVF or something.
It's something I forget the term, but it's that recent disclosure. I mean, if you look in the context of what the government has said over the last 100 years about it, these developments are really actually huge on a really 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 big scale for them to just admit those
versus
things.
Like
but
Roswell, where it was just a balloon.
All weather balloons, was all lies. Nothing happened. Nothing to see here. But it's like we're so distracted with obviously all the political crap and everything else. You have to wonder that maybe this is just part of why this is happening. If you believe in like meta narratives.
You have to take that bird's eye view approach. You have to really look at like what's the narrative here, why now, ask those big questions, and not just take these things at face value.
There are some crazy conspiracy people. You can go to like Reddit conspiracy forums and places on the internet, and you'll find similar talk about the pandemic and what's going on now. And a lot of these people will say that actually the whole alien thing, whether it's a scam or whether it's real, is actually coming up next. That's the next
kind of
big
believe
thing
it because
to,
it's like
to
it seems like they've slowly been dropping little things to ready us.
And you can actually find actual news articles and things that will support the idea that this
like
is
in
coming
regular
up.
news sources
Because,
too, not just in like fringe news sources.
Yeah, and it's been going on for maybe the last five to 10 years, where you see. Remember the Canadian former defense minister when he started coming out with these things?
Yes.
You say, well, that sounds like kind of crazy, but wait a minute, weren't you the freaking defense minister?
No, well, that's the thing.
Like,
a lot of other countries
credible.
Started doing this way before we
Mexico,
did.
The Mexican Air Force released, their stuff.
A lot of
their unexplained videos. So the fact that this type of small scale disclosure,
so America kind of like had to get with it,
is happening, I think is very meaningful. But does it mean that like we're going to have some kind of huge disclosure in 2021, or that there's going to be some crazy like visitation, or whether it's going to be a complete fabricated, bunch of BS to seem like aliens to distract us from something else? I have no idea, but clearly the groundwork has been laid for additional things to come out. And maybe it's time. We talk about this watching programs on Netflix and other popular streaming services, and how the nature of that programming is geared towards a certain narrative to get you prepared about thinking about aliens in
Right.
a certain way. And it's not the 1950s like really silly stuff. It's actually much more of a rational way of tying in a
Yeah,
number of
it's a little
different
more
things,
serious and grounded.
and actually like explainable for what they're trying
Yeah.
to communicate. And that some of these shows have really, really similar themes, almost as a way to get people more, okay, so it's kind of like science fiction, but it's kind of like maybe some facts and some theories, and then the theories start getting a little more established scientifically, more articles come out, more alien stuff comes out, and pretty soon, okay, we're actually ready for a much more higher disclosure, and without terrifying people, because that's always the argument that's made that says, well, people can't handle the fact that this is this, and if it actually was this way, they wouldn't know what to do. They'd react crazily, or riot, or not go to their jobs anymore, and not behave like good people.
Well,
And I think that's, I mean, if you just said tomorrow that all these aliens exist and this exists in history, this
but
actually is
that's
what
the question
happened,
of like, what does that really
people
change?
might stop going
But
to work. They might
why?
not care
Well,
anymore.
that's actually not the conclusion I came to. I said, what does this really change? What does this really mean for me in my life?
Well, you
And I came
couldn't
to the
get to any
conclusion of
conclusions,
nothing.
but you couldn't get to any concrete conclusion. What if there
But even if
was
I did,
a concrete conclusion,
even if I
that
knew
that
in
you could
today, in
that
this
came out?
moment,
There's like a huge story that's
hold
like,
on,
okay, we're gonna,
even if I knew
admit
and
to
I
this and
had
that.
hard evidence that like my DNA was from aliens and they existed and they've been coming here, even if I fucking knew that, that really still doesn't change anything about my life. That doesn't change anything about that I need to make money, that there's, I want to travel and have a family. It doesn't change any of that. It doesn't change the things that make me happy at all. It doesn't change what I need as a human being or human alien, whatever we want to call it. So I really don't think it changes anything.
Well, I mean, it depends on what's coming out. If it's like, okay, there's some history that maybe aliens were here at one point, but they're not here anymore, and there's no contact, and we're still alone in the universe, or whatever they want to put out as the official story, then well, maybe there isn't. Maybe that just makes you think more about who you are and were and where you came from. But if it's different, and it's like, okay, well, we've been working with some type of intelligence
Mhm.
for 50 years, giving us computers and giving us a lot of advanced technology, things that they say were, harvested or originated from Roswell or other events like that, other crashes, other things that were covered, then, it begs the question of like, well, what else, is there? What other
Yeah.
technology is there? And do we really have to live the way we're living now? Is
I,
there a greater,
yeah.
conscious way of being, and how much longer do we have to kind of do these silly jobs and lifestyles until we could be sitting in a lotus pose, doing
Yeah.
alien nirvana and living on that level on the astral plane or something like that.
Well, the theory is that a lot of the reason why, if there is any secrecy around these things, that a lot of it has to do with energy and free energy and what that would mean for the world. Like, what do you think about that as like a theory as to like what keeps
Well, I mean,
this? Should this be?
yeah, that's always a common thing people go to say, well, we can't have this type of knowledge, information, revelations, facts, whatever it is, we can't have that because ultimately there's too many people that need to make money and dominate other people through capitalism, or
Right.
whatever
Like, would
structure
it
you want to say.
drastically change the structure of our society to have like free energy
Well,
or?
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, if you study Star Trek and, the things that Gene Roddenberry talked about, and, the events that led up to what the world was before, I mean, I don't know, they would call it the invention of warp drive,
Yeah.
which then, is supposedly detected by some other alien race. And then that's first contact. And then after that, the world changes and people stop worrying about the mundane things, wars end, and society all starts to come together as the planet, becomes like the nation state as
Right.
opposed to individual sort of countries. And then the focus is more on what is our place among
The stars.
among the stars and not among the states or among the cities or among the races or whatever else,
Yeah.
And then I think that obviously becomes way more interesting for everybody. It's just, are we ready to go there, and what are the repercussions for people that aren't ready to go there?
You know what I would think? It would drastically change life for those who are religious among organized religions. Like, those are the people where it would really change
may or may
things.
not, because you could say there's a lot of arguments to say that aliens and angels and
You
things
could,
like that are
but
all
that
the
is
same
not
thing.
in their belief system.
Well, the Pope has, talked about aliens and the fact that
Loosely.
they are involved. They are now part of the Catholic, the Catholic sphere.
Loosely.
They've been added in. That was a big thing.
Yeah,
that
but it's
happened a long
not. But
time
I'm
ago.
telling you, like, I think it would really pose the question of, because a lot of people gain their like morality and just how you live life, what's right and wrong, and their beliefs because of their organized religion. And questioning that for those people, I think it would really kind of turn everything upside down.
Maybe I don't know. I always say that the best theories are ones that actually can work through a religious context and a
But
sort
still,
of science
even
fiction,
so,
conspiracy, whatever context.
even so,
And that I think that if something does come out, it'll come out in a way that works within all the frameworks.
even so, it would still be a huge paradigm shift.
It would be, but some people might actually say, "Well, glad I was right about that, because these aliens are just this and this, and how it relates to what I read here, or this scripture, or something else, or
Yeah.
I don't know."
But I mean, I think for so many people, they consider aliens to be like something of like a demonic.
Well, we do know someone that does believe that all alien encounters are just demons and bad energies,
and so to like
satanic and
be
things
able
like
to
that, so.
shift that. Exactly, he is an example of somebody that that would change everything for him.
And who's to say that he's not right about that?
I don't know.
Perhaps all these abductions are just being abducted by by
Demons.
Satan's demons. And
Potato,
things
potato,
like that.
right?
Honestly, it could just be two sides of the same coin.
Potato, potato.
Right.
I don't know, but it's
They're
very
questions to live with. There's certainly things that are coming up more, and I think you can just, like I said before, just read current culture and current entertainment and see that these trends and these topics are becoming more and more concise to the same narrative. They're being found in multiple different, texts and multiple different
that's the way they
formats
do it.
and genres, whether it's video games, whether it's movies, comics, TV, all the same kind of stuff. And then eventually,
psyops, man.
There could be some major disclosure event that comes out, but again, is that real?
I think it's going to be a drip, drip, drip.
Well, yeah, but is it real, or is it actually just yet another government conspiracy? And like you just said, a psyop, and it's just a bunch of crap, another distraction to turn away from some other idea.
It's up to you to decide what to believe, I suppose.
I think so, but I think it's good to watch the stars, and I think it's good to see.
Well, one time we saw you. I remember the blue light that then just went shoo and disappeared.
Well,
it was really
a lot of people still believe that
the Phoenix lights are fascinating.
That SpaceX launch, was not what they say it was, but
it's
pretty interesting looking when it happened. We saw it. So I don't know. I mean, just try to look up instead of looking down. That's what I would say. Try to watch the sky and don't just watch.
There are some sightings where it's like, dude, like the Phoenix lights was one of them, where it's like the governor was like, "We can't explain this," like whatever. Like there's just some stuff like that where it's like, there was one in like Belgium where there's like clear shots of this like black triangle.
I mean, there's tons of that stuff, and it's throughout history. You can find it. You find it in like old paintings of UFOs and things. I mean, it's clearly been in every culture at some level. And what does it mean? I mean, I think most people know that there's something going on.
I think most people do believe that.
But they don't want to believe it.
It's very echoey in here. We just walked into the building.
Well, it's okay. But they can't believe too much, otherwise it changes their day-to-day life, and it might make them question too many things. So cognitive dissonance.
Well, I mean, having a major paradigm shifts is difficult because we're talking about the nature of your perception of reality.
And that actually starts to screw with your psyche and screw with your own mental well-being at a certain point. It
takes time to digest all of that.
Evolving one's cosmology is a huge undertaking.
And some people are obviously going to be more open to it than others.
Yeah.
I am a person that is very open to all of these ideas. I welcome them. I don't. Some people really fear them and reject them, and will
Yeah.
vehemently shove them away.
Well, those are usually the same kind of people that are really, really entrenched in one political position or another.
But it's fear based.
They're exactly. They're very, very much afraid that something of the other, way of thinking might actually be true, and they can't live in that world.
Right. That they
Same
just need to
thing
hold
with-
fast to.
Same thing with aliens, ghosts, or
Right.
like I said, anything that goes bump in the night.
Or anything that maybe it offers a different narrative than
Right.
the standard.
You've adopted and lived with for a lot of your life. Yeah.
Right. Oh, hello, kitties. Back at home now. Back at home, we were taking a stroll under the night sky, under the stars, seeing what we could see. And now we're back at home with the fur children. The fur children.
Oh my! Just got some paperwork here from the IRS indicating that I owe $80.
Well, there you go.
Wow.
Oh, did you hear this cat meowing? Oh, do you want to have a peek outside, dear? You're going to come in 2 seconds. I know it. But, go on with your bad self. Okay. So, anything else you would like to add to this stream here?
Nothing else I think I want to add. What do we got here? 26 minutes? Well, I feel like we should go a little longer, but...
Okay, well, then you need to attend.
Okay, that's fine. I'm here. Just keep talking.
And that was just something I was thinking about today after hearing that story, and I kind of reignited that thinking. But again, it's like you just go round and round with it. I feel like I got to the bottom of like all of the information I can get, and now it's just a matter of a waiting game, just waiting and seeing what's going to transpire and what's going to be shown over time.
Yes. What is the next thing to be revealed by the people doing the revealing that have more information than we do?
Right. But at least now we do know that the government does lie or hide top secret programs. Like for years they said they had shut down the like UFO like investigation like units and stuff, but that was untrue, and that had never been true. They had always had areas of inquiry around that.
They just change the name, or they find some way of not having to outright lie about it or say they didn't. But
no, they do actually. They did outright lie.
Well, sometimes they have to do that, but
But it's because it's confidential.
It's
top secret.
It's for the sake of the nation and
security.
National.
Can always claim national security.
Of course.
Which maybe it's true. Who knows?
Probably
and who knows how much of it is like military? Like we just don't know. We don't know. We don't know the whys. We don't know the question of the why. We just know that there's just some shit going on. The why, we're not sure.
No, we don't know why. But it's happening, and we do know that more is happening now, so we can only guess what's coming after the election in 2021.
I don't think look, Trump hasn't disclosed anything in his 4 years in office.
That is true. He hasn't, I think he was asked maybe about aliens a little bit, but I don't think he said anything.
No.
Clearly, it is not a priority.
It's not his area of interest, I don't think. I think he's more about getting the economy, he's more about terrestrial issues.
Terrestrial issues, right. Well, I don't think it's his position or would ever be his position to say anything about it anyway, even if he wanted to.
Maybe I think there are things that they even keep from the president.
Well,
the president is only a temporary position.
Well, we've Jesus.
Well, you just knocked shit out of me.
Don't put it under my elbow. I'm trying to fix this. Well, I want to work on it. Anyway, as we've all read, supposedly the CIA stopped being an organization or whatever organizations under the control of the president a long time ago. So, whatever would be coming out or they would know, I doubt he would even be informed about any of that stuff. I think that ended. When did
Turn
that?
this light on.
When did that supposedly like end under like Eisenhower or something, or there was some administration that like they
Well,
stopped.
Eisenhower gave that cryptic
Right. I
remark.
think he was the last one that probably knew more than he could talk about when he talked about the military industrial complex in that famous quote. And I think after that they stopped talking to them about whatever they knew.
Possible.
But that's just a theory. That's just some BS that we're gonna, imagine today on our show.
All right.
See?
Well, we're gonna say goodnight to everybody.
Yeah, we're gonna say goodnight. That was fun.
And keep your eyes to the stars.
Keep watching.
You never know what you will see. How do we lost?
Your browser has.
I'm trying to figure out how to end the stream. Got it.